It's the middle of February. I'm in a food plot that we call the horse's pasture, and this year we planted something a little special. We used a product called Field Edge, which is brought to you by Rack Stacker, and it's a plot that you plant anywhere that you want deer to be throughout the winter months. Whether it be in the early fall or right up through the winter time, I try and feed my deer as much Field Edge as possible. And you can clearly see, being in the middle of February, they're still pawing this up to eat. There's lots of food left in this 1 acre plot, and they'll continue to feed until it's gone sometime in early April. But today, we're gonna take to the skies. I'm gonna show you how I've done a food plot to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday in a 1 acre food plot, and it's gonna be pretty cool. Stay tuned, it's gonna be a good show. Homegrown Hunter TV has been brought to you by Rack Stacker brand products, Canada's leading big game attractants company. Campbellford Chrysler, a small town dealer with a huge inventory. And Huckabones Equipment, Ottawa Valley's Kubota dealer. And these other fine sponsors. I remember the first time that we ever talked about the concept of putting our logo into a food plot, and it was actually at a moose camp in 2012 or 2011 maybe, and we were joking around saying that it couldn't be done, and a couple of us said that, you know, we could get it done. So I challenged myself for that year to come up with a concept idea to try and get the design in without using GPS coordinates. I wanted to do it by hand and by scale. So we're going to explain to you today how that happens. But that first year, I ended up hiring a pilot to fly me up above the food plot to see for myself what that Rack Stacker logo looked like. And I thought it was pretty cool. However, the second year I done it was 2014, I believe. The Quality Deer Management Association has a very nice logo, and I challenged myself to do that year. I am a loyal Quality Deer Management member. I'm a life member as well, and I was humbled to know that they were writing an article about it in their Quality Whitetails magazine, which was very cool, and you can find it online as well. That was a stage-by-stage process, and we actually reversed the logo so that the food plot popped because it was dark green. The following year, which was 2015, we ended up putting Jim Shockey's Professionals logo. And it's kind of funny because Google Maps ended up updating their satellite images. So now his logo is actually in my food plot. Every day it's on Google Maps. It's pretty cool to see. In 2016 we had some flooding. Unfortunately I have to deal with that with this one food plot that we have, where if we get a lot of rain in the late fall or early spring, it floods, and I actually have to canoe to get to some of my mineral locations. So we weren't able to plant in 2016. 2017, what happened was obviously Canada's 150th birthday, and we chose to do it in a little creative way that even pilots, or in this case astronauts, can even see it. So stay tuned, we're going to go step by step on how we've done this food plot by hand without using any type of GPS equipment. Well, you can quickly see here that I've got some ragweed issues. That's what I'm actually tilling in right now. I'm using a forward tine Land Pride rototiller, and what it's doing is actually flipping this upside down and packing it. So you can see here that I've now got some soil exposed, but I'm going to give this a couple days in the sun so that it dries out. We've had an extremely wet spring, So I'll give this a couple days, and then what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll go the opposite direction and till it back under. So it'll allow a couple of different things. For one, the sun will dry the moisture out. For two, it'll help kill the weeds off. And the second time that you forward tine rototill this, it'll break it up to a beautiful seed bed. I was really impressed after seeing what that rototiller done to this plot. I gave it about 8 to 10 days to die off in the sun, and it completely crippled those plants. By mulching up the grass and the weeds and the ragweed that was there, it actually stressed the plant out enough, killed it completely off. But I wanted to work the plot one more time. The reason for this is when you work the plot, you want to be able to seed down right away. Because if you don't, the weed seed has 8 to 10 days ahead of growth of your plot. So therefore, that's how most plots end up getting taken over by annual weed problems. When you work your plots up, make sure you seed immediately afterwards. I got this all worked back up and I was ready to seed. Don't go anywhere, there's lots more to see on how this plot evolves. Welcome back to Homegrown Hunter TV, where we're showing you how we food plotted to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday using the Kubota and the Polaris Ranger. Now I'm hooking up a 7-foot drag meant for small planting areas. This is probably one of the best investments I've made in food plotting because you want the smoothest planting area possible. The drag helps with breaking up chunks of dirt and clay in the plot prior to seeding. It also helps keep a consistent planting area. Once you broadcast your seed, you want to ensure that you press that air pocket out of the ground. By doing so, you're going to make sure you get good seed to soil contact, and as soon as the moisture is contacted to that seed, it starts to root and goes straight into the ground. In this case, I chose to use a cultipacker by a company called DR Equipment. The DR Equipment has really great stuff for food plot guys like yourself and I use this one here to pull behind me, and it packed it down really well. A normal roller would work well too, but don't miss this step. It's like insurance for your food plot, ensuring you got good seed to soil contact. I had built a graph with a maple leaf onto paper. I'll use this in the field to scale the design, and for every millimeter on the paper acts as a foot on the ground. A good friend of mine, Reg Morton from Tweed, Ontario, decided to help me that day, and we measured it out 16 feet square, just like I'd done on the paper. After waiting about 2 weeks, you can see the new growth that's in the plot. You don't have to worry about hurting the plot by walking on it, as the roots have developed. And this is when we started laying out the new design. This would be an ideal time to also fertilize your plot based on the packaging instructions. As we went along, we measured on the piece of paper how many millimeters it was from each corner stake, and we dropped an orange rock that I had spray painted earlier. Later on, once I laid all the rocks out and sprayed the letters on the top of Canada, which was also the toughest part of the plot, we ended up spraying all the letters, then played basically connect the dots. The C and the D in Canada were certainly the hardest to lay out, as the curves on the letter were very much a challenge, but we got her done. Once we got the letters done, we started at the tip of the maple leaf and started to come together. The time of the year that you want to plant field edge is late July, early August. These plants are very fast growing and will be at full maturity in 75 days. You want them to be lush so that the deer will love them and eat them all fall. You don't want to plant field edge too early. After a few more weeks, I came in with a herbicide spray and traced what Reg and I had done earlier. By spraying the edges, it killed the plants in the area, outlining the work that we had done. Now is the waiting game to see how all the hard work was going to turn out. 75 days later, the plants looked awesome. And as you can see, there are multiple varieties of brassica that we use. Deer love these plants after the frost hit them, and they'll eat them from the fall right through the winter months. Now let's take to the sky. Today we're talking food plots. Welcome back to the Homegrown Hunter TV. Previously, we showed the complete setup of a food plot product called Field Edge to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday, from the design phase right to the end product. Field Edge produces up to 40,000 pounds per acre, and for more details can be found at rackstacker.ca. And now, this week's Cut to the Chase segment brought to you by Rackstacker. If you'd like to hold your white-tailed deer herd on your property while you're putting up your summer food plots, I highly recommend looking at a product called Stacked. It's a product that I've developed over the last 4 years, and it's done fantastic in the field, proving itself time and time again. It's very easy to set up. What I highly recommend you do is get off the normal path and find the trails where the deer want to be. This is a mineral location that I've been using for many years now. The deer have been consistently coming here throughout the year, and as you can tell, the deer tracks are still coming in. So we're going to just top this up with 10 pounds of mineral. I'm going to pour it right on the snow here because it's going to melt down and stick to the logs that are underneath. And be sure to set up a trail camera because it's not only going to show the true success of the product, but it's also going to show you the antlered bucks that are going to be growing throughout the summer months and that you may want to target for the fall. So look for stacked. You can go to rackstacker.ca for more details. And the best time of year to put this out is the springtime. It's the best time of year because those deer, the antlered bucks, the does are going to be coming out of the winter in need of high vitamins A, D, and E, and that's what Stacked offers. Check out rackstacker.ca for more details, and by all means reach out to us with photos. We always love to see them. I'm taking my daughter on her first deer hunt over this Canadian food plot, and it didn't take long for the first deer to show up on opening day. I shot my first deer. I didn't have a coach. The thing is, you need to realize we can sit here for the next 30 minutes. Watch. See what happens. Yeah, look at this. That might even be a buck. This little button buck came out in short time and started eating in the plot. Prior to the hunt with Ashlyn, I agreed that a mature doe or a buck only would be shot. We had expected his mom to come out the first night, but unfortunately it never happened. The next day a heavy frost came in and we knew it was going to be good. A good looking yearling 8-pointer had stepped out first thing in the morning and this old fella was getting pretty shook up. Ashlyn had turned 12 years old this year and had practiced for this opportunity since she was about 6 years old. Now stay tuned, we'll be right back. I'm on a hunt with my 12-year-old daughter Ashlyn. She's about to shoot her first buck with my muzzleloader. It's not going. Keep an eye through here and breathe. Breathe. Hold on. Come down. Do it 1 or 2 or 3 times. Put it on his shoulder and kill him. What you just heard was a primer igniting and a misfire on my muzzleloader. The night before we hunted, Ashlyn was cold and I made the mistake by bringing my gun into the warm room. It condensated in the barrel and wet the gunpowder inside. That morning, I put the primer in the gun and that's what misfire was all about. Stupid mistake on my part. I should have left it out in the cold truck. It was okay though, the buck wasn't spooked and there was lots of deer to fill our doe tag. The following evening, Ashlyn would practice her breathing and aim on the younger deer that were coming through the food plot. Later in the evening, we had 2 buttonbuck fawns in front of us and we had decided to shoot their mom as she came out. When their mother stepped out, I accidentally hit the record button and shut it off. Can you hear them blowing? They're mad because you shot their mom. No, not piss them off. Did the shot feel good? I think I hit it good. That's all that matters. Even if I hit Ashlyn was lost for words, and the two of us had discussed waiting for about an hour before going to find her. Her mom was texting from the other blind, and we were going to meet up at the house.
I shot my first deer! That's pretty awesome. That's pretty neat. I know, that's what I said in Logan Camp.
We put my lab on a leash so that the kids could track the deer, knowing there was good blood. Is there blood there? Did I tell you?
That's awesome, Ashlyn.
Ashlyn, your first whitetail.
Good job, Logan.
She's big.
You smoked her.
You smoked her, Ashlyn. Absolutely drilled her.
Thanks.
Good work, honey.
Thanks.
Practicing, eh?
Yeah.
Breathing, taking your time. Making Dad be patient.
Good girl, Marshall.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Nice big doe.
All right, well, I'll meet you at the tractor.
All right.
Good girl, Marshall. We heard her crash, didn't we? What'd she go?
Good job, honey.
She didn't go 40 yards.
Right on.
Just like I said, we heard her crash.
She shoots like her mother.
We got her tagged, loaded into the tractor, and headed for the house. If you have any questions in regards to rack stacker food plots, please check out rackstacker.ca, or you can follow us on Facebook. Our food plots are designed specifically for Canadian climates, and you can drop us a line with any questions that you may have.